Galaxy! Amazing! It's show time!
Hello honeys! Nijino Yume is the defining character of her generation, which I've discovered by analyzing all of her experiences and motivations. This is a thorough deep dive containing spoilers for the Aikatsu Stars series and its first movie. If that's okay with you, let's get started. Unlike previous Aikatsu protagonists, Yume's backstory is kept as vague as possible. We know that her parents are loving and supportive and run a successful bakery. We mostly see her hanging out with her best friend Koharu, who she appears to have met in her first years of elementary school. Koharu is a passionate fan of idols, and she introduces Yume to idol music, magazines, and concerts. Yume finds Koharu's extensive knowledge admirable. Koharu encourages Yume anytime she struggles to follow along, and whenever Koharu is afraid of something, Yume finds the courage to reassure her in return. The two of them remain close all the way through elementary school. Koharu is there to support Yume when she joins the school's volleyball club, and Yume decides to support Koharu's passion for idols by sharing her dream. They're both fans of the idol group S4, whose members are the top students of a school called 4-Star Academy. If they can get into the same school, they might one day be able to join S4 themselves. Yume and Koharu solidify their shared goal after they attend an S4 concert, a moment that Yume will later misremember as the start of her new dream. When applications open for 4-Star Academy, the two friends apply together. They pass the audition round, and even though Yume feels intimidated, she and Koharu both get in. They're officially 4-Star Academy students. Part of being a 4-Star Academy student is moving into the school's dorms. Yume is lucky to be assigned the same dorm room as Koharu, but they're split into separate homerooms, and it's on the first day of class that Yume's idol identity begins to take shape. When she thinks of the perfect idol, Yume thinks of her S4 bias, Shiratori Hime, someone mature, talented, and beloved by all. That's what Yume intends to become as well. Unfortunately, she's hassled into helping another student named Laura sneak into class and left bewildered by the school's strange rules. Yume assumes that helping a rule-breaking student will get them both into trouble, but Laura is praised by their teacher instead. She calls Laura's disrespectful attitude individuality and tells them they're all free to go. It's their own responsibility to plan their classes, training methods, and idol careers. Yume plans to take every lesson available to her, eager to achieve her goal of becoming an idol like Hime, but she quickly realizes that she's the worst in her class. Her ego is bruised by this. She'd been great at volleyball, and Koharu had always praised her singing voice, so the criticism she was suddenly receiving in class was unexpected. To make matters worse, the first years are sent to a surprise debut concert on their first day of training. It's just for the rest of the school to evaluate the new recruits while they're still fresh, but Yume wants to prove herself. She's there to join S4, so even if she's the worst right now, she'll show her idols that she has what it takes to reach their level. When it's finally her turn to perform, Yume gives herself a pep talk, puts on her school dress, and opens her eyes to Hime standing over her. What the heck? She's in the nurse's office, and Hime is praising her, and she's so overwhelmed that she bursts into tears. Hime comforts her, but she won't answer Yume's questions, and when Koharu comes in a panic, Yume puts on a brave face to reassure her. Koharu compliments Yume's performance, so Yume is confused. She doesn't remember performing. But sure enough, Koharu has the whole thing recorded, and Yume was way better than she'd been during training that day. It's like you were a totally different person, Koharu says, and Yume is understandably unsettled by the situation. The next day, Yume is the only first-year student to be featured on S4's morning talk show. It makes her feel uneasy, like her idol career has already spun out of her control, and being the only one to be highlighted makes her feel guilty too. I guess I was just lucky, she tells Koharu. But Koharu offers her a completely new framing of her experience. They say that luck's a skill too, she says. Despite her insecurities, or maybe because of them, Yume seizes the opportunity to get back on track. Everything from the previous day had been so demoralizing and even scary, but maybe this is a sign that she should be more optimistic. Maybe she really does have what it takes to be the best, just like Hime. The next step in Yume's S4 plan is to apply for Hime's class. The school is divided into 4 discipline-based classes for dance, acting, beauty, and singing. The flower song class is Hime's. If Yume becomes its top student, she'll become its S4 representative. Easy. Unfortunately, her talented classmate Laura is also aiming for the flower song class, and at this point, Yume is already pretty sick of her. Laura isn't afraid to call her out on her lack of training. It's only gotten worse since the debut concert. On one hand, Yume has proof that she can outperform all of her classmates, Laura included. But on the other hand, it's hard to deny that she sucks at all of their lessons, and she doesn't appreciate the attention that Laura draws to that discrepancy. The two of them finally hash things out when they're assigned to be partners for an upcoming event. Laura is under the impression that Yume is talented but lazy, and she refuses to work with Yume until she learns how to practice properly. Laura generously prepares study materials for her, and Yume gains an appreciation for Laura's work ethic. Eventually, Yume figures out how to train seriously, and Laura rewards her efforts with friendship. From that point on, whenever other students gossip about Yume's apparent laziness, Laura steps in to defend her reputation. But she still insists that Yume doesn't stand a chance at beating her, so their S4 rivalry remains. As they approach the class sorting auditions, Yume's subpar vocal skills start to eat away at her confidence. Especially when she talks to Tsubasa, one of her S4 idols, and finds out that even she had been forced out of the flower song class by Hime's superior vocal talent. Yume finds encouragement from another senior idol, Subaru from the boys division, and decides to go for it anyway. In the end, Yume is the final student selected for the flower song class. Laura makes it into first place, of course, and Koharu is accepted into her goal, the Moon Beauty class. With this major milestone conquered, Yume's imagination begins to run wild. She can picture herself standing alongside Hime, getting special attention as her prodigy successor, and she's eager to step farther into the spotlight. That's why she becomes disillusioned with her accomplishment as soon as her class is assigned to work backstage at an S4 event. Koharu is allowed to personally help her S4 representative, Yozora, but Yume gets scolded for even trying to catch a glimpse of Hime. And if she can't use this opportunity to get closer to her idol, then what was the point of working so hard to get into her class? Maybe she should have taken Tsubasa's advice after all. It'd be way easier to switch to a less competitive class and join S4 that way. Yume complains so much at work that she gets assigned an early shift on the day of the event. It's supposed to be a punishment, but by waking up earlier, she's actually able to talk to Hime the next day. It's an awkward conversation since Yume feels guilty for complaining, but Yume is thrilled by the attention nonetheless. Finally, she can feel motivated again. Things go pretty well for the next month or so. Yume keeps training with her friends, gets little wins here and there, and is able to maintain her vision of becoming a Hime-level idol prodigy. She becomes so confident in her own potential that when she's asked to take Hime's place at a concert venue, she genuinely believes that her breakout moment has arrived. She is nervous, of course, but she's ready to take the concert seriously. This is the moment when the S4 baton is passed to her for the first time, and with her friend's support, she's confident that she can do a good job with it. She gets herself a dress from Hime's fashion brand, My Little Heart, gets permission to perform Hime's signature song, and realizes that she should probably reserve seats for her parents before it's too late. Except it turns out that every seat in the venue is available after all. Not a single person has bought a ticket in the first 24 hours since the announcement. And the concert is that night, so it's not like there's any time to wait if they were interested. Yume panics when she realizes this and asks her teacher what to do. She's told to go out and sell tickets herself, but nothing she tries works. It's too last minute for anyone she's met at work to make it, and only Laura is able to convince a few of her fans to buy tickets. Other students start gossiping about her, and Yume starts to feel incredibly embarrassed. She can hardly focus on her concert preparation, and seeing everyone complain to Hime makes her feel even worse. This was supposed to be the moment that Hime passed the baton to her, and everyone realized that Yume was an idol worth watching. Instead, she learns just how differently she and Hime are perceived by the public. It makes her want to give up. Going on stage and facing an empty audience would be so embarrassing now. But if she does give up, she'll be too ashamed to face the friends that supported her. After a full day of stewing in disappointment, Yume confides in Subaru. He shows her that her friends are still out in town promoting her concert, and tells her that he only sold one ticket to his first show. All she has to do is satisfy one person, and she has more than that already. Yume thanks Subaru for his advice, and heads back for extra training now that she's actually motivated. At the venue that night, her parents congratulate her backstage, and she tells them that she's proud of the small audience that she's gathered. Yume does a great job during her performance, but something about it feels off to her. If she had to put a name to it, she'd call it some sort of power pushing her beyond her limits. Laura and Koharu both tell her not to worry about it though, and Hime shows up to distract her before she can think about it anymore. Hime is there to invite her to shadow her at work for a day, as thanks for the last-minute concert. Yume agrees, of course, and is excited to both leave a good impression on her idol and learn from her example. Everything goes perfectly until a storm rolls in and triggers something like a migraine in Hime. Yume is horrified to see Hime suddenly wilt before her eyes. She only has an hour to rest between jobs, and Yume is about to tell the staff that Hime is sick when Hime suddenly springs back to life to stop her. She explains that there are people waiting for her perfect idol persona, and that no amount of illness could stop her from meeting their expectations. Yume is moved to tears by Hime's determination, and when they get back to school she feels guilty for underestimating her. She'd assumed that Hime was a prodigy, and that she moved through the world effortlessly. But now that she's seen just how hard she worked, Yume has gained a new level of respect for her. She wants to be just as hardworking, just as kind, and just as tough as Hime is. It's at this point that something starts to shift in Yume's worldview, something that brings her much closer to Laura than she'd been before. They have a test coming up that will rank the first years in their class, and the winner gets to perform with Hime. Yume ends up losing to Laura, and she's devastated. But she's still happy for her friend, and is genuinely excited to see her perform. However, a scheduling conflict leads Laura to have to cancel her performance with Hime, and as the runner-up in the ranking, Yume is asked to take her place. By Hime, personally. Yume feels so guilty for taking Laura's place that she refuses to rehearse with Hime at first. She feels certain that Laura deserves this opportunity, and that it would be morally wrong for her to take it from her. It's only when Laura calls her and reassures her that she also deserves the opportunity that Yume changes her mind. If Laura really couldn't make it and genuinely believed in her, then Yume would do the performance for both of them. And when Laura finally gets back to school, Yume is so relieved that she tears up and gives her a giant hug. The injustice she felt about the whole situation had been a massive source of stress, and she was glad that it was finally over. The two friends only get closer over the next few weeks. They both win spots in the opening performance for a giant 4-star Academy festival on a tropical island, and are excited to compete in a pairs audition during the event. The prize is once again the opportunity to join S4 in the closing concert, and Yume can't help fantasizing about herself and Laura getting special permission to join S4 together. It's safe to say at this point that the idea of competing with Laura is completely out of the question for Yume. She would never do anything to jeopardize their friendship, and she'd rather imagine a new future where the two of them succeed together than sabotage Laura's dreams through competition. That's why, when Laura suddenly tells her that she'll be taking the audition with one of their friends, Mahiru, Yume feels deeply betrayed. They'd already agreed to be partners, and part of the reason that Yume wants to win is because she thinks that Laura deserves to perform with Hime. So why is Laura trying to win on her own rather than share the opportunity with Yume? Does she think that Yume will drag her down? And is she really selfish enough to betray her in order to win? When Yume demands an explanation, Laura claims that not only does she want to pair with Mahiru instead, she also thinks that it will be better for Yume to compete against her. This answer does not satisfy Yume, and the more she panics, the harsher Laura's explanation becomes. Eventually, she refuses to answer any more questions, so Yume gets frustrated and lashes out. She calls Laura's idea stupid, and the gloves come off. Laura calls her unskilled, a horrible singer, and at risk of making a huge mistake in her career. As Laura starts to walk away, she tries to put a condescending hand on Yume's shoulder, and Yume snaps. She slaps Laura's hand away and starts a shoving match with her, breaking the friendship necklace she'd only just bought Laura in the process. Laura storms off, and Yume realizes that they'd had a crowd of fans watching them the entire time. She's extremely embarrassed to see a tabloid story pop up online within a couple of hours after the fight. When her friends ask her about it, she struggles to justify her actions. Rather than finding a new partner, all she wants to do is put on a brave face to support Laura and Mahiru's audition. Yume struggles through the next 2 days of festival work. Despite claiming that she wants to support her friends, she avoids them instead. It's only at the very last minute before the audition signups close that she reflects on what she wants and decides to fight for her partnership with Laura. Luckily, Laura came to the same conclusion and went looking for her too. Laura apologizes to Yume, and Yume confesses her feelings in return. Laura is more than a friend and rival to her now, she's an irreplaceable partner. Yume feels deeply indebted to her for all of her support so far, enough to make her insecure about whether she's even good enough to be with Laura. But Laura insists that their feelings are mutual, so all's well that ends well. They turn the broken friendship necklace into a pair of bracelets, win the audition, and perform with S4. But as soon as they get back to school, Yume is once again faced with the challenge of pitting her own ambitions against Laura's. Every year, 4-Star Academy selects a first-year flower song class student to release a debut CD. 2 years ago, that student was Hime, and Yume is motivated to follow in her footsteps. She's even able to bring back some of her old competitive drive against her beloved partner. But it ends up being less of a rivalry and more of a desperate attempt to keep up with Laura's confidence. As hard as she tries, Yume can only imagine Laura winning the CD debut this time. Laura is still the top student in their class, with the most vocal training and the most professional mindset. Yume knows that she doesn't stand a chance, but when she asks Hime for advice, she's only told to be herself. Yume and Laura make it to the final audition round after being neck and neck through every non-singing contest. The last one will be a duet performance where their vocals will be directly compared. Laura is serious about competing on an equal playing field, but Yume accidentally discovers that the competition is rigged. They've already picked Laura for the CD debut, and the contest is just for publicity. When faced with such a futile situation, Yume becomes demoralized. She's tried so hard to catch up to Laura and it's still not working. At this rate, she'll be left behind. While she's waiting for the performance round to start, Yume is comforted by Koharu. Koharu reminds her that sometimes she's pulled off unbelievable performances where she's overshadowed even Laura's technical skills. The same thing had happened before the Island Festival too. Yume had really wanted to win that opening performance spot, so she'd pushed herself extra hard on stage and gotten the vote she needed to make it into the lineup. It had been physically exhausting, but it worked then. Maybe she just needed to push beyond her limits this time too. With this mindset, Yume is able to change the producer's mind and win the CD debut. And suddenly, she's back on track to follow in Hime's footsteps. Hime will even be releasing an album on the same day as Yume's debut, and Hime's album is predicted to sell 1 million copies. The media starts calling Yume Hime's successor, and Yume starts to believe that her own million-seller album is just around the corner. The actual album recording is stressful though. Yume has a cough, so her vocals are off, and she starts to worry that she strained her throat during the audition. Luckily, Hime is recording her album next door and is able to help her recover. The rest of the production goes smoothly, and Yume is excited to see her CD in stores when it releases. However, seeing Hime's sold-out album next to her own fully stocked display is discouraging, and she only feels worse after attending Hime's concert later that day. She'd been completely delusional about catching up to her, but at least when she vents to Laura, she finds some reassurance that she's made progress. Eventually, Yume is forced to recognize that emulating Hime isn't enough to achieve her goal of joining S4. It takes Hime personally telling Yume this for her to get there, but she does commit to reflecting on what S4 really means to her. And in the process, she seems to decide that her ability to push herself is what makes her deserving of that spot. After another successful contest against Laura though, things start to fall apart. Laura tells her that the two of them need to train separately for a while, and Koharu reveals that she's moving overseas with her family. Yume tries to push herself extra hard at Koharu's going away party, but ends up collapsing on stage, just like she did in her very first performance. This time when she wakes up in the nurse's office, Hime is there, but Koharu is not. Yume has missed the chance to say goodbye to her best friend. To make matters worse, Hime starts explaining that the two of them share a strange condition that makes performing dangerous. It's too much to process, so Yume just goes back to her empty dorm room to cry. As the cherry on top, she finds a letter from Koharu on her desk. It turns out that Yume's insistence on pushing herself was what inspired Koharu to move away, to find a new, stronger version of herself out there in the world. The best Yume can do is honor Koharu's feelings. She'll become stronger, redeem herself, and join S4, just like they'd always wanted. So we have to break the fourth wall here because the logic of the story breaks down a bit when it comes to Yume and Hime's shared condition. After this point, Yume learns that the power she and Hime have had stolen a previous idol's ability to sing and ended her career. Yume becomes terrified of suffering the same fate and heavily relies on Hime for emotional support. The school headmaster becomes directly involved in forcing Yume to perform in order to cure her condition through sheer willpower. If she doesn't, he threatens to expel her to protect her health. In the end, Yume is able to face her new fear of performing. Basically, it's both a physical challenge to keep up with the strain on her body, and a psychological challenge to break out of her emotional dependence on her power, or something like that. I'll explain why it doesn't really matter in a second. Yume is able to restore her self-confidence by believing in the trust that her peers have placed in her and is cured. It's important because it marks the end of Yume's potentially career-ending condition, but I hope you'll forgive me for not getting into the inconsistent details of those events. Series director Sato summarizes the reason behind this power in the Aikatsu Stars complete book. He says, "I thought there had to be a plausible reason for a newcomer who hadn't properly trained as an idol to suddenly become number one, beating out her classmates and rivals. That's why I introduced a mysterious power, but I couldn't have her rely on external forces until the very end, so naturally she has to overcome it herself." Which is crazy because I can think of tons of reasons why a rookie idol would become number one in less than a year, but I guess it was too difficult in this case for whatever reason. Head of series composition Kakihara Yuko says in the Aikatsu Stars complete book that the setting was established that there were senior students and the existence of S4 was born. Then I started thinking about what kind of protagonist would be good to catch up with them in about a year. Considering the need to differentiate Yume from previous protagonists, it was difficult to portray her as just a hard worker. So Yume is a protagonist who gets caught up in a mysterious power that draws out her latent abilities through the Aikatsu system without her knowing, and grows in the process of overcoming that. However, if the setting leans too much towards science fiction, it will no longer be popular with girls, so I tried not to reveal too many detailed background settings. When pressed on whether the lore of the Aikatsu system or Yume's power was thought through by the staff, Kakihara basically says no. The scriptwriters who collaborated with me asked me about it quite a bit, but that's not the main point of the story, so I didn't think about the details of the setting, and I tried not to write anything too in-depth. I depicted Yume's mysterious power as a symbol of an unfair thing that you can't do anything about. In reality, idols also have to fight against the injustices they create, such as being unlucky and not being able to become popular, or being lucky enough to become famous but being looked at by those around them with the thought, why her? In the end, the only way to overcome such things is to work hard. Using the name Aikatsu system, I intended to depict the exploits of a girl who overcomes such circumstances. Kakihara concludes with her core writing philosophy. When you push a character to their limits, do it thoroughly. In my opinion, the vagueness of the mysterious power makes it functionally meaningless. It can specifically only happen to Hime, Yume, and that previous S4 member. So it is a chosen one style mechanic, but it's also inconsistently written as a spiritual test from a higher power, a chronic illness, and a monkey's paw style curse. It really depends on who's writing the episode. The power can't be triggered on purpose, which makes it unpredictable, but it's also such an addictive experience that its bearers become both afraid of and dependent on it. But it can also be stopped by believing that you just don't need it anymore. It just doesn't make sense to me as a metaphor no matter what angle I think about it from. Because hard work and self-confidence don't cure random misfortune, and the psychology there doesn't add up to me. And if the writers didn't think about it to begin with, I'd rather not make up an explanation for the whole arc. It happens because Yume needed to fast forward her career growth for the plot, and it ends because the writer thought it'd be cheating if she used it to get into S4. It's dramatic for sure, but thematically incoherent. After she overcomes her mysterious power, Yume is filled with a cathartic sense of freedom. She's gained Hime's mentorship just like she imagined when she first joined the Flower Song class. Plus, Laura has worked through her own training arc, so she's back to hanging out with Yume as usual. With renewed motivation, Yume settles on a new goal, to become the first star, shining higher than everyone and brighter than anyone else. There had always been a part of Yume that wanted to be special before, but her ambition had often been clouded by her insecurities. Now that those insecurities have been resolved, she starts to think of herself as an honorary member of S4, a diamond in the rough, waiting in the wings for her turn to be recognized as worthy. When S4 holds a Christmas concert, Yume decides to put on her own. When S4 cooks party food for New Year's, Yume wants to help. The horrible shrine fortune she pulls can't scare her because her prayers outside the S4 dorm are stronger. She's clearly Hime's favorite, and Yume wants to thank her for her support by proving herself in the S4 selection at the end of the year. Although she'd once been nervous about Laura's chances of beating her, those worries are far from Yume's mind as they approach their fateful competition. And the S4 selection organizers appear to agree since they place Laura in the middle of the event schedule while Yume is given the final spot before Hime's closing performance. On the day of their S4 selection, Yume is waiting backstage when she gets a call from Koharu. It's the first time Yume has heard her voice in the 4 months since she moved away, and Yume has missed her terribly. Koharu apologizes for her absence and encourages Yume to do her best. Yume feels so grateful that she's able to pull off an incredible performance, no mysterious power needed. After Yume makes it to first place though, Hime sweeps through and dethrones her, just like she should have expected. But it turns out that she still hasn't learned her lesson. She still believed that maybe, this time, she would beat Hime. and she's so disappointed with herself that she runs outside to hide from her friends and family. Still imagining a world where she competes with all of S4, gets a perfect score, and thanks Hime for helping her become the best. Yume shouts her vow to beat Hime out to the ocean and is caught by Hime. She praises how hard Yume has worked and encourages her to join her in the future. Although Yume lost today, the next day is Hime's graduation, so her S4 spot will be passed on to Yume, the second place candidate. During the ceremony, Hime helps Yume into her very own S4 uniform, and Yume promises to live up to her expectations. 1 month later, Yume is living the life she dreamed of. She's moved into the enormous castle that is the S4 dorm, appointed Laura as the head of her admin support team, and is now constantly surrounded by adoring first-year students. She's even launching a new fashion brand. Yume has only just started to settle into her position at the top of the idol hierarchy when she hears about a place called Venus Arc. She and her friends investigate, and it turns out to be an enormous cruise ship hosting an idol school. The luxurious decor immediately captivates Yume, but they're kicked out before they can get any information about the school. Luckily, Venus Arc's owner and founder, Elsa Forte, is waiting for them back at 4-Star Academy. As soon as Yume steps into the headmaster's office for a meeting, she's singled out by Elsa and invited to join an international collection of top idol talent. The meeting is awkward since no one else seems to be a fan of Elsa's forwardness, but they all agree to attend one of her concerts. And from there, Yume's heart is stolen. Elsa's performance is flawless, and her dress is the most gorgeous one that Yume has ever seen. Ethereal wings appear behind her right before their eyes, and Yume spots Hime leading the audience in applause. After the concert, Yume finds Hime to talk and learns that Elsa had also tried to recruit Hime to Venus Arc. That alone is surprising, but she also praises Elsa. Not even the pinnacle of the Aikatsu we know today could hope to surpass her. As of this moment, she is the greatest idol in the world. Hime walks away before Yume can finish processing her admission of defeat, and Elsa approaches Yume again. Elsa tells her that she's missing something vital and promises to make her perfect. But Yume turns her down again. She needs time to figure out what remains of the idol world she thought she knew. And although she should feel intimidated, she can't help but find it more thrilling than threatening. The next day, Elsa shows up at 4-Star Academy again. She's there to explain the star wings she received during her concert, and entice Yume to get her own as a student of Venus Arc. It's a tantalizing offer, but quickly ruined when Laura and Elsa get into an argument. In order to defend Laura, Yume firmly rejects Elsa's offer and tells her to leave. In truth though, Yume is extremely curious about both Venus Arc and Elsa. She tries not to be since she's already committed to S4, but Elsa's beautiful dress and star wings linger in the back of her mind. Yume is in the middle of launching her own fashion brand, and she's been struggling with the designs. Mentorship from Elsa might be exactly what she needs to reach a level of top idolhood she never knew existed. Even Hime is leaving 4-Star Academy to travel in search of her own Elsa caliber growth. After a couple of weeks, Yume gets the chance to fulfill her wish. It turns out that there are a limited number of star wings, one representing each planet in the solar system. In order to compete with Venus Arc, 4-Star Academy sends its S4 representatives to study there as exchange students. Even Laura is excited to go, so Yume can safely be excited about it too. For a brief period of time, she does feel a little nervous about studying under Elsa, but that anxiety is quickly swept away when she finds out that Koharu is now a Venus Arc student. Yume is thrilled to reunite with her. Koharu says that she was recruited for her talent in fashion design and had been building her confidence before she planned to contact her 4-Star friends again. As they tour the ship, Elsa explains that her students are molded in her image as part of their fundamental lessons. Her friends take offense to this, but Yume has no trouble following her logic. Elsa says that true individuality appears from those who have broken out of their molds, and that sounds about right to Yume. That's what she did after all. The Venus Arc students don't seem terribly impressed by Japan's idol standards, and Elsa reveals an upcoming competition, the Aikatsu ranking. It's a year-long contest that tracks idol popularity through a point system, and brings the top 4 idols in the world together for a final tournament. To Yume, it sounds extremely exciting. Right when she'd reached the top, a whole new world of competition had suddenly been laid out before her. Of course, Yume's new goal is to catch up to Elsa, surpass her, and reach the top of the Aikatsu ranking with her own Starwing-worthy dress. First, she'll need to properly launch her fashion brand, Berry Parfait. After a lot of studying and scrap design, she finally lands on her core inspiration, the thrill of wearing an idol dress for the first time. She'll capture that feeling and share it with everyone who wears her brand. Berry Parfait is meant to bring out the best and brightest in everyone, she says. Yume's final design isn't rewarded with star wings, but she's still incredibly proud of it. Her staff had done a wonderful job helping her turn her unpolished drawings into a gorgeous dress. Still, Yume is clearly no closer to earning the star wing she craves, and Elsa confirms her doubts. Without professional design skills, she'll never gain the kind of recognition that Elsa commands. Over the following weeks, Yume gains more and more respect for Elsa's worldview. She's a harsh authority figure to the Venus Arc idols, but in Yume's eyes, she's not much different from her own school's ruthless headmaster. Even when her friends react poorly to Elsa's policies, Yume discourages them from judging her. The idol world is harsh, so it isn't Elsa's fault for preparing her students appropriately. Yume is honored to be one of the first 4-star Academy students to be invited to Elsa's Venus Wave event, a competition dedicated to rising stars in the industry. Her old fantasies of being recognized by Hime are replaced by fantasies of being crowned the world's top idol by Elsa. Even when Yume doesn't win, she's still captivated by the idea of having an enormous global fan base. Eventually, the exchange program has to end so that Venus Arc can move on to other destinations. Koharu transfers back to 4-star Academy, and she and Yume spend a lot of time catching up. After a long heart-to-heart one night, Koharu confesses that her new dream is to help Yume as a designer for Berry Parfait. It sounds perfect at first, but the two girls quickly run into creative differences. After an argument and a day spent making up, Yume and Koharu decide to reboot the Berry Parfait brand under a new name, Rainbow Berry Parfait. The expansion will give Koharu more freedom to experiment, while marking a clear transition to manage fans' expectations. They collaborate on a new dress design, and at its debut concert, Yume finally earns her star wings. This should be the stepping stone to world domination that Yume had been fantasizing about, but her priorities actually start to shift after this point. First, she's distracted by the debut of Hime's new protege idol, a girl from Finland named Aria. Yume is initially a bit jealous of Aria since Hime is basically acting as her manager, but she warms up to her quickly. In fact, Aria helps Yume realize that she's been letting competition gradually drain the fun out of her idol career. She's able to fulfill her dream of performing with Koharu, and makes a lot of new friends, but it's Aria who reminds her of her love for idol work. And when Elsa announces the existence of a sundress, which the Aikatsu system awards to one perfect idol, Yume is eager to win it. Elsa is the one to get the sundress in the end, but Yume still has her eye on the Aikatsu ranking. The end of the year-long contest is approaching, and Yume gradually works her way up to second place, right behind Elsa in first. But along the way, she has so much fun helping support the new idols around her that she starts to see herself as part of something bigger, as not just the brightest star, but the brightest among a sea of shining stars. It's that image that stays in her mind when she hears that Venus Arc is scheduled to close after the Aikatsu Rankings final tournament, and she encourages Elsa directly at their pre-event press conference. I want everyone watching, as well as Elsa and the others performing, to shine together with me. Elsa, let's both shine as brightly as we can. Elsa insists that Yume is naive, but Yume is undeterred. She gets through the semi-finals of the tournament and prepares to face Elsa in the final round. The day before their decisive battle, Yume finds out that Elsa is planning to retire as an idol after her presumed victory. And rather than feeling offended by her arrogance, Yume just finds it sad to imagine her quitting. She'll win to convince Elsa to keep performing alongside her and all of their friends, and show her just how much she means to everyone. That said, Yume struggles to imagine herself actually winning against Elsa. She knows that she has all the support she could wish for, but Elsa has the sundress, she has global stardom. She is the perfect idol. But after Yume watches Elsa's final performance, she realizes what Elsa doesn't have. Hime had tried to tell her the night before, but it's only now that she understands why being perfect isn't the same as being the best. Yume wants to put on a performance that leaves her without any regrets, so that even if Elsa wins and retires, Yume will know that she did everything she could to stop her on behalf of all of their friends. It's that desperate need to shine in a sky full of bright stars that Elsa lacks, and Yume tells her that backstage. There's one thing I have that you can't match: my feelings. During her performance, Yume does the impossible and earns her own sundress. She beats Elsa by a thin margin and is congratulated by her friends. When Elsa starts to walk off stage alone, Yume calls out to comfort her, but they're interrupted by the arrival of Elsa's mother. It looks like she won't be so alone after all. After the tournament wraps up, Yume is officially recognized as the world's top idol. And she couldn't care less. She's proud, of course, but she's still mostly thinking about the other idols following her example. and she's still anxiously waiting to see if Elsa will retire. Luckily, Elsa has called off her plans and is rebranding Venus Arc to Neo Venus Arc with a brand new curriculum. Before their rival school sets sail again, Yume gets a chance to say goodbye to her new friends, and Elsa promises to return and defeat her. All that's left for Yume is to prepare for that year's S4 selection, or so it seems. Laura also announces her plans to go overseas and pursue a solo career, so Yume leaps into action to help her with her career pivot. She also gets a chance to compete against Hime and finally beats her. It's only then that Laura confesses how much Yume has meant to her through their years of rivalry. While Yume and her friends send off Laura, Yume reflects on her advice for the next generation of idols. Let's run after our dreams. Let's head towards them at full speed. Because dreams aren't meant to be dreamed, they're meant to be fulfilled. Admiration breeds more admiration, and the moment you reach out to it is your start line. She goes on to win her second year in S4, form a unit with Hime and Arya, and reunite with Laura at the World Aikatsu Cup 1 year later. A battle I hope is at least referenced in the epilogue movie coming next spring. Yume's story might not be flawless. I know most fans tend to take issue with either the first or second season, but I was relieved by the growth she achieved in the end. Yume might be the most self-interested, narrow-minded protagonist in the Aikatsu series, primarily concerned with how special she is compared to other people. But it's her experience working on her fashion brand that teaches her to value how special she can make other people feel. And from there, she starts to think about her legacy and how much more satisfying it is to be the best when everyone around her is at their best too. I find that a very convincing way to adapt her self-interested value system into a more community-minded one. I know that the mysterious power debacle in the middle of season 1 might be where you disagree with me the most, and have probably already told me that I just didn't get it, but I did try really hard to figure it out. There are a lot of different readings you can do of it to find value from individual episodes, but together they just weren't saying anything consistent. I'd still love to know what you got out of the mysterious power arc if it was impactful for you. There's a lot more behind the scenes information I found in my research too, and I'll definitely be talking more about Yume in my Laura and Koharu deep dives. And probably other ones too. Look forward to those. I'm really excited to dig deeper into Aikatsu Stars. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts about Yume in the comments below, and keep an eye out for our My Little Heart ranking in a few weeks. Bye bye!
This, so